Hello, my name's Christian, Christian Shumate to be exact. I am going to be going over my technology infused lesson plan for Education 305. Um, as for my introduction, content area, topic, and grade level. This content area is specifically for math. The topic, as well as the big idea, is going to be addition and subtraction, specifically subtraction, and the grade level is kindergarten. Now, this big idea actually comes from this standard. We'll be focusing on subtraction, specifically subtraction from 10. As for the state standard that we have, it is M.K.9, and it is that students in kindergarten are able to solve addition and subtraction word problems and add and subtract within 10 by using objects or drawings to represent the problem. Now, specifically in this, we're going to be unpacking the standard to subtracting within 10 by using objects or drawings to represent the problem. As for my lesson objectives, objective 1, by end of lesson, students will be able to understand subtraction as taking away with 90% accuracy. Objective 2, by end of lesson, students will understand subtraction by 10 with a visual aid with 80% accuracy. And then objective 3 is going to be by end of lesson, students will continue to subtract numbers above 5 with 70% accuracy. Now, the reason objective 3 has a 70% accuracy, kindergarten students who are just learning their numbers typically have a harder time with numbers above 5. So if you're teaching a class about addition or subtraction and students are struggling with those numbers that are above 5, you'll want to go back down to numbers below 5. And as for the evaluation or assessment, I'll be using both formulative and summative objectives to measure the success rate of this lesson. Specifically, I'll be using the correctness, I believe is the right word, of the activity, specifically the subtraction activity and subsequent activities, as well as, different technology-based forms like iReady Math, which students often use after this lesson. As for content day 1, what will I be teaching? Whenever you are teaching, whether it be, just one lesson or if you're teaching a day's worth of lessons, switching between subjects, you definitely want to have a segue, both to not really jar the student, but to, have a little bit of a cool down period for, switching between topics. That way students can learn more easily. Um, as for my activating prior knowledge, I've chosen a brain break. We did this a lot in my observation with kindergarten. Specifically, what that means, it's just like a 3 to 5 minute video that students, particular younger students, can utilize to kind of, get some external energy out, kind of have a brain break from doing schoolwork for a brief window of time. However, these brain breaks can also be educational, such as the case with this Math Whiz Subtraction song by Danny Go. For the explanation, I just put, I will play this video on the Promethean board as a brain break activity when switching between subjects, as well as review for students regarding subtraction. And now we have this bowling subtraction activity itself. So I'll be working on setting this up as well as, having some student help. Um, for this activity, students will have a calculator as well as their iPad to actually do the worksheet. They'll use an app like Paint to write in the numbers. And from here, students will be paired into groups and instructed to go to different stations with their iPad devices with the subtraction online activity loaded on their iPad as well as a calculator. Students are instructed to set up 10 bowling pins. There will only be 10 bowling pins, and students will be instructed to set the pins back up after each student gets their answer. The online activity in question will have 10 problems listed, all showing 10 minus blank equals blank template. So, however many they knock down is how much they write, and then they'll count the ones remaining, and that gives them the problem. Marked under the first example problem, there will be the phrase pins knocked down under the first underline and pins left on the second underline. Located after the equal sign, students are instructed to type both the number of pins knocked down and pins left up in the correct underline. Students will also be shown basic calculator skills on how to enter the subtraction problem to help them determine the correct answer. As for adaptations or accommodations, whole group instruction will be delivered initially. Students who struggle will be provided help. Students with IEP and 504s will be provided appropriate accommodations based on those IEPs and or 504s. Redirection, frequent checks for understanding, repeated directions, extended time when needed, positive reinforcement, simplified oral directions, and visuals will all be utilized, and students with IEPs and 504s will be placed in a small group with the teacher for assistance as needed. Assessment, formative observation recording sheet, and student feedback, summative student online subtraction bowling activity, and then technology must be available. But with that being said, that's been my technology infused lesson plan. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.